Buongiorno, buon pomeriggio, e buonasera, Lazio world. Welcome to your instant reaction pod. I'm your host, Sean McIntosh, joined by Caleb Adams for some mid-week madness. Consider this your stoppage time, which we seem to revel in. We are here to cover the chaos that we just witnessed, the Europa League round of 16, Lazio on the road against Viktoria Plzen. Holy crap, Caleb. 9-man Lazio over Viktoria Plzen 2-1. How you feeling?
I don't even know how to feel right now. I mean, obviously, I'm ecstatic, but I'm still processing. I'm in shock. Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting show.
We always go instant reaction. We want those gut reactions, but we always have a little bit of more time. I feel like the same as you, like to process everything right now. In the middle of a work week, watching this chaos, it's like doom and gloom. 2 men down, typical Lazio and European play of just like, what are we doing? Just reminded me of so much of what we've done in the past. And then just like the unexpected from Isaacson. I mean, that's 2 matches in a row where we are on a roller coaster of emotions, where we're like, what the hell are you doing to just euphoria? But very different, because the match against Milan, there was a lot of positives that, we felt good about. Some questions here and there, but by and large, like really good, aside from maybe one moment that almost ruined everything. And then, of course, ends in this fashion. But today, just a completely different Lazio side. So let's jump in, like real quick, taking a look at the starting 11 for this one. We see a couple key changes here. So you've got Gigot in place of Gila, Provedel with the start, which was really interesting because Mandas had been your European anchor in goal. And so Baroni electing to stick with Provedel as his starter. Your midfield, Rovella, Guendouzi. But then in the attack, you see some shift and change. You've got Noslin in place of Zaccagni. You have Pedro playing in the role you typically see Dia in. And finally, we see Dia in that number 9 role, flanked by Isaacson on the right side. And it's not fruitful, to say the least. We've been clamoring for Dia to play up top, but whatever was out there today just simply wasn't necessarily working. But 11 minutes in, we've got we concede a goal off of a corner. Isaacson fails to kind of win the ball to clear it out, played back in. Viktoria Plzen scores. I'm like, here we go. But, it's early enough that I think that maybe Lazio gets a bit of a wake-up call, but they're bailed out. The goal is ruled offside. And then 18 minutes in, a Romagnoli goal off of a corner. Really nice job. His second goal in 7 Europa League matches this season, which has been really nice from him. And then 31st minute, we have what should have been a goal that maybe would have sealed the deal and really changed this match. Isaacson is gifted a ball, a chance to go one-on-one with the keeper. And to say he fluffs this is an understatement, because he doesn't even get a shot. He kind of stumbles over it. I don't know if he's surprised, but a massive opportunity wasted. And then the 56th minute or 53rd minute, we concede a wide open header off of a free kick. Nuno really losing his man. And it's an easy goal. 56th minute, 3 minutes later, Provedel and Marusic coming up massive, salvaging this. We see a couple red cards that take Lazio down to 9, and it is a 98th minute wonder goal by Isaacson. What's really interesting about this goal is Isaacson and Guendouzi are completely left alone. There's no options Isaacson gets the ball, and you're like, well, he can't pass it to anybody. We don't have numbers. We don't have anybody. It's really poor defending to let him even get the shot off. Isaacson's got 1 foot. He's given the option, takes advantage. 2-1 Lazio, euphoria. We go back to Stadio Olimpico now with the 2-1 lead. Caleb, give me your 3 words or less for this one.
Stoppage time merchants.
You're literally that's amazing because mine stoppage time warriors. So love it on the same page. But I'll go ahead and let you run with this one.
Yeah, I chose stoppage time merchants because the last 2 matches it's felt like we just stolen the game in the last minutes. And I want to say, not just, I'm really curious to know, actually. I know for a fact Lazio are number 1 in Serie A for most goals post 75 minutes. So this team under Baroni, for whatever reason, has a lot. I think over half of our goals this season have come after the 70th minute, which is a pretty interesting stat. So that stat in itself, despite all the circumstance, I'm like, I don't know. We might just steal something. I know this is before we lost the second guy, by the way. Then my mentality was like, oh boy. But even with the man down, I was like, like we can still steal something because we've done it so many times this season. How many goals have we scored in the 80th, 85th, 90th minutes to win or salvage a point? And I'm not saying it's a good thing, but to me, even though the performance was abysmal, to me, this shows that this team just has that capability to just do stuff that the top teams do. Like, I think of Inter and the Scudettos that they've won. How many times have they just like not had a great game, but still managed to get something out of that match at the end? Like this is the kind of stuff you have to be capable of to be a top side, to win knockout matches, to do well in the league. So even though the performance we're going to talk about, it was not great, I do think again that this sort of trend that we've had, despite me not liking it because my blood pressure is kind of going crazy, it shows me that this team has just that willingness to keep competing all the way until the end. And so there's a lot of negatives to take from this game, but I wanted to take a positive from that.
No, I mean, that's absolutely right. We've talked about it time and time again about the sides, as you mentioned, the Juves, the Inters, that, even when they're just completely out of it and underperforming, the frustration that we see, as Laziali, that particularly because it happens against us so often that we feel like, well, we were the better side against the Juve or whoever. And then they somehow always seem to find a way. We're seeing a little bit of that under Baroni right now, that we're finding a way to find results, even if it's ugly. And we know, and we'll repeat this till end of time, like we don't care about how it looks as long as we get the job done. And today was absolutely that. So just jumping into some of the stats on this one, because there's no mistaking it. This was not pretty at all, and this is not what you want to see from Lazio moving forward. But 57% possession to Lazio's 43. We've talked about it time and time again, how Lazio so often this season is at least winning the XG battle. Tonight was a night where they lost that 1.22 to Lazio's 1.12. Shots were even. On target was even.
I mean, despite that, this is a really bad performance from us. But even then, if you look at it on paper, it's like, hey, yeah, they had the ball, but they didn't really do anything. And we
absolutely
did enough to earn a goal. Yeah.
Yeah, but look, I think we all agree that the competition's not going to get easier. We did our part in earning that top of the table. And things kind of worked out exactly how we had hoped, getting a side like this in the round of 16.
Mm-hmm.
Hope for a little bit better. These aren't the matches that I want to be stressing over. But going back to Stadio Olimpico with a 1-goal lead is certainly where you want to be. So, tell me a little bit about what you saw. Like we obviously were not playing well, but what do you think led to that? Was there something Viktoria Plzen was doing? Was it just simply our players not performing, or was it how maybe Baroni had us set up?
I think Victoria came out a little more physical than we anticipated. Like that was a really physical battle. I was just hearing that also just the atmosphere in that stadium sounded crazy. I had my audio on and I can't hear anything. Like it was just like deafening noise. So they were up for the match, and I think that's why I was so adamant on us starting our best 11 possible. If they were healthy, because a match like this can be deceptive. We can come in again, and I think there's still a factor of that. I think there's still something in this team that if they play someone that's quote unquote easier competition, um, they sort of like ease off the brakes. And to be fair, in Europa League, we've dominated teams like this. To be fair, I mean, we scored like 3-4. But knockouts are completely different beasts, and I think that once again, I think it comes down to a mentality and approach, a mental preparation coming into a place like this and stepping up and being up for it. And I think that the lack, no Zakanye today, no Tati today. I just think that particularly in that front four, it, there isn't a strong enough presence up there that can enable the team on that end. We have some of that on the back line right now in the midfield, um, but it's weird because it wasn't even like I can't even say like tactical things because just simple passes, just simple little easy passes. We couldn't build up the field. I just think that I'm going to give credit to Victoria here more so than Lazio. That we were bad, of course. We weren't our best, but with the lack of our players, Victoria coming, they also like their best striker as well. To be fair, so we were both liking players, some of our best players, but I think that they surprised Lazio, sort of shook them. That goal that they scored early, I think if that goal, if they count that, we may be looking at a loss. I'm not gonna lie. I think the only time in the game where I saw us see a little kind of spurt of energy of this sort of initiative to take the game was after that got caught offside. It was like, okay, guys, like we gotta like step up, wake up here. But unfortunately, sort of dwindled as the game went on.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a couple things. You mentioned knockout play is always going to be different, and Victoria came out and turned it into an ugly match. I think another factor, we talk about this when when people try to compare, when you're talking about like national game or international matches, and you think about CONCACAF versus Europe and some of the things that make CONCACAF a challenge, things like the pitch, the travel, and I think it's without a doubt the pitch for those that saw and paid
Yeah,
attention
good.
was really poor. If you didn't notice it during the match, and it was hard not to, take a look at Lazio Siamo Noi on Instagram. They posted an up close video of what that pitch looked like, and it was atrocious. I mean, to be playing a European level match on a field like that is a disgrace. And so, no doubt, that kind of made it ugly. I'm sure that affected some of the passing. And so, with Victoria also making it a little bit of an ugly game, it took Lazio out of their rhythm.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good way to put it because this game reminded me a lot of a CONCACAF game. For those of you who are stateside, the CONCACAF national region, the international region, isn't so competitive, but it's these types of environments that make it difficult for even really class players. You could argue Lazio have more higher quality players than a lot of national team guys for the U.S. national team, and they struggled in this environment. And so I think that's a really good point. Was pitch quality, the atmosphere. Again, credit to Victoria. They came out and made it really uncomfortable. Took advantage of the setting of the stage, and yeah.
Who A lot of poor performances, but
Yeah.
who was your man of the match?
I think they can only really be. You know what? I think they could be maybe three candidates that was sort of weighing in my mind. Um, but I'm gonna go Romagnoli. And I know the natural inclination is to go with Saxon, which he 100% is one of the ones that I was considering, by the way. Um, but I went with Romagnoli because I look at the back line. Uh, Tavares didn't have a particularly good game. Um, he also was at fault for a goal. Gigot wasn't particularly good either. Eventually got sent off with a red. But that's, even up to that point, wasn't particularly good. Marusic was okay. He's also like he's sort of injured as well right now. I don't even know how he started the game. Provido had a pretty decent game today. I thought Provido actually came up pretty big for us today at times, but still not good enough to warrant a man of the match. And I think Romagnoli was, while Isaacson had that goal, Romagnoli was much more involved in keeping the game level where it was. He made some good blocks, good stops, and of course, set the tone early with his own goal. He said, you know what? Attackers are having a stinker today. Boom, let me do it myself. So he stepped up. I thought he was sort of the only commanding presence out there today.
Yeah, you know what? I like that pick. I was gonna say Isaacson. Right, just the obvious one. You're thinking the last thing to happen in the match, but I think you're right. I think in terms of like the totality of the match and his influence on it, and he's been so steady. I mean, definitely the most underrated player. I think we've got
100%.
one of the underrated players in Serie A. If you really think about like their level of play and never ever ever being talked about, walks away with this one and has a goal. I think that's a really really good shout. Who'd you have as your bidon? A lot of players here. I have one. I'll kick this one off.
Go ahead.
For me, it's Nuno. Because we obviously talk about him time and time again, and he's been getting a heap load of praise, rightfully so, for one side of the ball. And when he's Nuno, he is world beater. And when you're willing to deal with some of the lack of defense, and you saw that in the Milan match. He was actually quite good on the defensive side in the Milan match until he wasn't, and it's a missed assignment, 84th minute goal, really really poor, and was bailed out by Isaacson. Isaacson earned the pen in the last match, and but today you didn't have all the positive that comes with assignment, and so he was really really poor. He is such a key part of this attack because when he's not attacking, he gives open to unsuccessful dribbles. It's not even the fact that he wasn't successful. It's just the fact he wasn't even taking anybody on. He was 0 for 3 on accurate crosses, 1 for 4 on long balls, just not there today. And then compare that with it was really kind of like a lack of effort on that. He just let his guy go, and there was no muscling. When we're talking about a guy of Nuno's stature, like he's strong, he's big, and he's just not using it on that side of the ball. So for me, it's kind of clear as day that it had to be Nuno because of how poor he was on both sides, and obviously his impact to concede that goal. Who'd you have?
I'm actually gonna opt for Dia. And my thought process behind Dia was, even though our front four, I think in general, were definitely the weak link in this match, aside from Tavares. But again, I look at this team. Zakanyi out, Tati out. Who are you expecting to step up in the attack? Dia, right?
Yeah, you would hope.
Right?
Or Pedro, right? Like only because Pedro has done it, but but your first opportunity is there. Yeah,
your first inclination is Dia, right? It's a guy in his prime who's brought in as sort of a premier striker for us, and in this stretch, you would hope, particularly in the position that he plays, and also he's playing in his natural. Well, he didn't really play in the natural position. Nelson was out wide, and regardless. He was playing a little more central and focal point up top because naturally Pedro wants to float more. But anyways, Dia, man, he couldn't hit regular passes. His hold up play was not good. His his decision making was poor. His shots were. I mean, look at this stat line. I wouldn't even blame you if you didn't even know he was playing that match because. So he had a total of 2 shots. Okay, one of them was on target. It was a left-footed sort of half chance, something crazy. But he generated very little xG, 0.1. He let's see. He was dispossessed 3 times. He won 0 tackles, not even on the defensive side. That's the thing. I couldn't even look at him on the defense. I couldn't see his impact even when, at least with an effort, right? Because we've crapped on Tati for not finishing chances, but again, like it's hard to also crap the other parts around him. But Dia's been a hard worker. He's also a hard worker. Don't take it away. 0 tackles won. Just lost most of his duels. There's nothing there that screams like focal point of the attack. And again, I personally have higher expectations on him because he has been one of our better performing players. But with no Zaccagni, no Tati, Dia, you have to be the guy. And he looked like he arguably was the worst one of the front four.
Yeah, I mean, it's a massive opportunity for him with those guys out, and he failed today, undoubtedly. How do you think Noslin performed? I mean, another guy who has big opportunity. Yeah, obviously he's underperformed this season. Then he gets a couple matches where he looks solid, has a breakout match against Napoli, then gets injured, but now he's in the lineup today. It's starting 11, big match, no Zaccagni. How'd you rate him overall?
I mean, he was okay. He did on paper get the assist for Romagnoli's goal. But in terms of overall, again, this is something that's been really disappointing. Something I think maybe the most disappointing part of this season thus far has been how lacking and disappointing our attacking depth has been when on paper that seemed to be one of our deeper areas. Noslin, Shauna, Isaacson, Pedro, Tati, Dia. And I we should be on paper much better in attack than what we've shown. We've got these players. I mean, even we can even talk about Ibrahimovic as maybe a pseudo winger that can come in. Despite all that, it seems that here we are again, overly reliant on people like Tati and Zaccagni to get this like attack, like just going and get some life into it. Particularly, I think Zaccagni right now is like the biggest decider in matches. Like if Zaccagni's on, okay, we have a chance. But if he's not, like and credit to Saxon because Saxon has been a lot better recently. He's had a good stretch of games here, but I'm talking season long. So I'm Nelson is one of them, but Nelson's part of that contingent of players that we brought in that I was really excited to have. Some new legs. A younger guy coming in who's already worked with Baroni. For me, Nelson is particularly disappointing because he already knew the system. He's already been in City A for a little bit. He should have been the first guy to step up. Shauna, I get a learning curve, but again, he was okay, just not nearly enough. And I don't know if it's a matter of he's just not good or we're not playing to his strengths or, I'm not exactly sure. He scored quite a few goals last season. So he was okay. He was just okay. Again, disappointing though. I want him to be able to do like he did against Napoli, right? Have sort of that presence, create more stuff. But he did get the assist for Romagnoli's goal, with some effort. So kudos to him.
Yeah, well, we're going to need players to step up in order to finish this round out, and it can't be understated how valuable Zaccagni is. And we talked about Romagnoli being potentially the most underrated player in the league and for Lazio, but I think Laziali understand Zaccagni and how important he is. Really hoping that he starts getting some love from everybody outside of the Lazio world because he's been brilliant all season. I mean, he is our top goals and assist leader. He's top 6 in goal contribution in all of Serie A. Like this dude is performing at an incredibly high level. The players ahead of him are Retegui, Moise Kean, Lookman, Thuram, Lukaku, and then it's Zaccagni ahead of a player like Lautaro Martinez.
Wow.
You're talking about a real contributor, and he does it in critical moments all season long. So being without him, being without our next best goal contributor in Tati, puts us in a real problem. So it's I think it's when you start to look at that, it's no shocker that they had a stinker in attack today, but we got to see some players step up. Otherwise, our run in this tournament is going to end earlier than we hoped.
No, I love that you brought up that stat because, again, you mentioned Tati. I mean, looking at this goals plus assists chart of who has the highest combined goals and assists, Tati is just 2 spots down at 8th, right underneath Lautaro. I mean, that's tied. That's on point with Pulisic, Leão, and Orsolini, who's done well. So I mean, these are really critical guys, and I hope that some of the fan base also recognizes after the stretch of games, because I do think that these facilitating. Sometimes people be like rolling their eyes, yeah, like whatever, but he's not the best finisher. But and you say like, oh, but he can facilitate play really well. Like a lot of our ability to connect in the attack stems a lot from him. He sort of plays this false nine role. That in terms of just actually progressing up the field is massive. In moments like today where we're stuck, we can't build up. Guess what happens? Tati drops all the way down to midfield and starts like combining, making stuff happen. I hope that he gets a little more recognition on that front for what he does there and what he can provide, because right now it's like a black hole up top. It really feels like if the ball gets up front to the front line, particularly whoever's playing striker with Shauna, Noslin, and Dia, like in this game, at times, it feels like it's a black hole. And so I do hope we give a little more respect to Tati on that front and how important he is to when it comes to building up.
Yeah, and I think there are two sides to that. Like you're 100% right. Not to take away from Tati. Like absolutely, he has been a contributor, and we have obviously been frustrated at the times where he doesn't finish a chance, but we do see in how we play, and he's contributing to goals. He's absolutely essential. But on the flip side, it's kind of scary to see the gap in that next man up.
Exactly.
Got to find a way to develop somebody or get somebody so that our whole like ethos and style of play doesn't just change without Tati, because it is falling apart. And as much of a like positive as that is and a testament to Tati, it's also on the flip a testament to like how bad the options are, or the how bad they have been.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Chauna he's lost out there. Even in today's match, like in the few minutes, you can tell like he just doesn't really understand what he's supposed to be doing. There's times where he's pressing, or he's pressing on the wrong guy, and he doesn't understand the assignment. So we need Tati back desperately. And in addition, we need somebody else that can play that role, not even just play a 9, but if we're so accustomed to playing with our 9, doing as much of the work that Tati does, then we need somebody that fits a very similar profile so that it doesn't all fall apart when Tati's not there.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I say I'm so disappointed, because it felt going into the season like, hey, we're okay. If Saxon goes down, it's all good. We're throwing Noslin or Shauna. And at some point, I also I want to see what are these Belayane, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Belayane,
Belayane Ibrahimovic, like dog, like Noslin and Shauna have not shown. They have gotten almost near full 2/3 of a season, more than 2/3.
There's no way Ibrahimovic is worse than Shauna right now.
Like at this point, if I'm Baroni, particularly with these injuries, for the love of God, throw them out there. Like surely, like you have given these guys a run, and they have not grasped it and take it with 2 hands. So give someone else an opportunity to do so. And that might be what the team need. The team may need some of this fresh ideas, because right now it seems like it's a cycle of just like doing the same thing, and it's not working. The same problems we see from Noslin are game to game to game. The same issues we see from Shauna are game to game to game. Like these are repeating issues that we're having in the attack, particularly. So we got to shake it up.
Yeah, and it's more frustrating with Belegan because he did play a match and he looked really good. So I don't know what maybe Baroni is seeing in training, and maybe it's different than what we saw in the one match, but it's just not working with the current options. So but here we are with a goal advantage going into the home leg and a chance to advance into the quarterfinals of Europa. So massive opportunity. That match will take place 1 week from today. We are in a bit of a midweek hustle right now with our next match being a Serie A fixture against Udinese, but that one taking place on Monday. So Caleb, we've got a hope we can both stay tuned and watch and record immediately after that, and then it's 4 days later. We're back again for Viktoria Plzen at home before Bologna, Torino, and then Atalanta in a big run. So our Champions League hopes are alive one way or another, whether that's a top four finish in Serie A or whether it's through this tournament. And to be at this stage of the season and to still have Champions League alive and European trophy alive, I'd say pretty happy.
Phenomenal. I think it's sometimes really easy for us to forget that, and just sort of like, at least for a lot of the fandom, is like, guys, again, just the fact that we can have these conversations about competing for top four and competing for Europa, huge credit. I mean, we're in good shape. We're bailing ourselves out here, still in the fight.
Well, in the fight, we are, whether we are bagging goals in the first minute or stoppage time, 98th minute, 9, and Lazio. It is